ready for a deep dive into a life that's truly, well, remarkable.
I'm ready.
I think our listeners are really going to enjoy this one. Today, we're tackling Marie Curie.
The one and only.
Right. And I know you're interested in really understanding her, like what drove her, her achievements and her struggles, and also like her lasting impact, right?
Absolutely. It's all connected, isn't it?
Totally. So we'll trace her story from her kind of tough early years all the way through to, well, her incredible legacy.
To me, what's always so fascinating is how much she achieved, like with everything against her.
Yeah.
Can you imagine, like, being a woman in science in the late 1800s?
Oh, gosh, forget about it.
It was a radical idea back then.
Totally radical. So let's rewind the clock. 1867, Warsaw, Poland, that's where it all begins. Maria Skłodowska, that was her birth name.
Right.
She was born into a world that definitely did not welcome women in science.
Not at all. And it wasn't just the norms of the time, Her family, they faced poverty and the constant strain of living under Russian rule.
Yeah.
Poland was politically volatile. Talk about obstacles from the get-go.
It's amazing she achieved anything.
Yeah.
Right. But even as a little girl, it was clear how much she loved learning.
Oh, yeah.
Like she had this inner drive, unstoppable, pushing her forward.
Absolutely. She craved knowledge. It was this drive that took her all the way to Paris when she was 24.
Wow.
Can you imagine the courage to leave everything behind, go to a whole new country?
And not just any country, Paris, the heart of all things intellectual, scientific at the time.
Right.
She enrolled at the Sorbonne, like one of the most prestigious universities in the world.
Exactly. But even in the City of Lights, life wasn't a walk in the park.
Oh, I bet.
Isolation, financial struggles. I mean, there are stories of her living on just bread and tea.
No way.
Just to afford her studies. That's dedication.
Intense. Those hardships could have, crushed her, but they seemed to just like fuel her even more. It wasn't just learning. It was devouring knowledge, pushing herself, always wanting more. She was forged in those fires almost.
And it was in all this, the challenges, the ambition, that she met Pierre Curie.
Her future husband.
Right. And partner everything, life and science. It wasn't just a chance meeting,
Right.
It was like two brilliant minds coming together, and they really did transform science.
That's amazing. So together, they start on this incredible journey of discovery.
Yeah.
And just a few years later, 1898, they announced not one but two new elements. Polonium.
Named after Marie's homeland.
Of course. And radium. And you have to remember, this was when even the atom itself was a pretty new idea.
It's hard to overstate how groundbreaking that was. They weren't just new entries on the periodic table.
Right.
These elements, they emitted this strange new energy.
The energy that Marie herself would later call radioactivity.
Exactly. It must have been exhilarating, like venturing into the unknown.
I bet.
The thrill of unlocking these secrets no one had ever seen. Their discovery, it was like a beacon, this sudden light in physics. It totally captured the scientific world's attention.
And the whole world took notice.
Yeah.
Big time.
Yeah.
In 1903, she becomes the first woman ever to get the Nobel Prize in physics.
Wow.
An honor she shared with Pierre, of course, and Henri Becquerel, who'd also been working on radioactivity. Talk about shattering glass ceilings.
Absolutely. But what's really striking is that even with this huge achievement, this Nobel Prize, it didn't erase all the prejudice, the skepticism she got from the male-dominated world of science.
Really?
Think about that. Even at the top of the scientific world, she was still fighting for her place.
That's incredible. It makes her story even more, awe-inspiring. It wasn't some smooth ride to success. It was this constant battle against, the mysteries of the universe,
Right.
and also the limitations that society put on her.
Exactly. Yeah, it shows you, big discoveries don't mean everyone's going to suddenly accept you.
Right.
It was a struggle all the way, a testament to her just, never giving up.
Makes you wonder what kept her going? Like with all that pushback, where did that resilience come from?
Well, think about it. The scale of her work.
Yeah.
She wasn't just messing around in a lab. She was unlocking, fundamental forces of the universe. Stuff that had been hidden for, who knows, forever. That kind of drive, that passion, that's got to be powerful, right?
Yeah, totally. And then just a few years after that Nobel win, tragedy hits. 1906. Pierre's killed in a terrible accident.
Awful. To lose not just your life partner, but also your scientific partner, the one person who really got your work, your passion. Devastating.
I can't even imagine. And you'd think that would be it, but Marie Curie, she wasn't going to let tragedy define her.
No.
She took over Pierre's professorship at the Sorbonne became the first woman to hold that position.
Bold move.
A real defiant act after such a loss.
And her science, it didn't stop. She went all in on isolating pure radium.
Which was incredibly difficult, not to mention dangerous.
Oh, yeah. This was back when they didn't fully get how dangerous radiation was.
It's kind of mind-blowing.
To think about the risks.
Working with something that could hurt her, but she just kept going. Driven by, I guess, that endless curiosity, right? To really unlock radium's secrets.
And it paid off. 1911, she gets her second Nobel Prize, this time in chemistry, for isolating pure radium. She became the first person, and she still is the only person, to win Nobel Prizes in 2 different science fields.
It's unbelievable.
Yeah.
But she didn't just stay in the lab. During World War I, she saw how X-rays could be used for medical treatments.
Right. To help people save lives right there on the battlefield. So she developed these mobile X-ray units, called them Little Curies. And those things, they made a huge difference in treating wounded soldiers.
So practical. Shows you how much she believed in science to, make the world better. But here's the thing. As groundbreaking as her scientific work was, her personal life, it wasn't always smooth sailing.
No, definitely not. And this is where you see the human side of this extraordinary woman.
Exactly.
Yeah.
She had all these scientific achievements, but she was still a woman in a society that wasn't quite ready for her. It seems like no matter what she did, she was always up against these societal expectations, these prejudices. So let's talk about some of the challenges she faced, both personally and professionally. You remember her relationship with Paul Angevin, the physicist?
That caused a big stir back then. Led to a whole public scandal. Really tarnished her reputation unfairly.
It's sad. She gave so much to the world, but just for being a woman with a personal life, she gets attacked like that. What was it about that relationship that got such a reaction?
Well, see, Langevin was married. And the media, they live a good story, right? So they paint Marie Curie as this homewrecker, some foreign temptress, a threat to French values even. It was all about discrediting her, trying to use her personal life to undermine all her scientific work.
Classic double standard. Society couldn't deal with the idea of a brilliant scientist also having a complex personal life. And it wasn't just the public. Even with the Nobel Prizes, her groundbreaking work, she still ran into roadblocks in the scientific community itself.
Absolutely. Like with the French Academy of Sciences, they were supposed to be all about recognizing excellence, right? But she was denied membership over and over again.
Wow.
After everything she accomplished. It's like they were saying, sure, you can win Nobels, revolutionize science, but you're still not good enough for our little club.
It's just blatant sexism. But you know what's fascinating, or maybe even creepy, is that a lot of Marie Curie stuff, like her lab notebooks, they're still radioactive today.
Yeah, it's a reminder of, well, the risks she took, the sacrifices she made for knowledge. They didn't really know back then how dangerous radiation was. Can you imagine carrying samples of radium in your pocket, looking at them glow in the dark, not realizing what it was doing to you long term?
It's incredible, her dedication, but also kind of tragic. That constant exposure, it eventually took a toll on her health.
Right. 1934, she dies from aplastic anemia, a blood disease directly linked to radiation exposure. A sad end for someone who gave the world so much. She literally sacrificed her health for science.
It really adds another layer to her story, doesn't it? Progress often comes with a price. And even with all her success, she was always struggling to get funding for her research.
Think about it. A 2-time Nobel Prize winner, and she's still having trouble getting the resources she needs to do her work. Crazy, right? But that was her reality. As a woman in a male-dominated field, it was an uphill battle all the way.
It shows you the systemic barriers women in science face, even today. It's like she was fighting on 2 fronts, against the mysteries of the universe and against all the limitations society put on her.
Exactly.
But even with all that, she kept going. And she found support from some surprising places. Like Albert Einstein, he really recognized her brilliance and became a big advocate for her work.
That's great. Those moments of solidarity are so important.
Right. When people from different backgrounds, different fields come together to support a brilliant mind. And her legacy, it goes way beyond those 2 Nobel Prizes.
Yeah.
Her discoveries, they're still shaping the world today. Think about all the medical uses of radiation, X-rays, radiation therapy for cancer. All of that came from her work.
That's right. And beyond the practical applications, her story just shows you what the human spirit can do. Overcome anything, push boundaries, achieve the impossible even.
It's inspiring.
Yeah, it goes way beyond the science, It's about the power of curiosity, that drive for knowledge, and the guts to challenge the way things are.
Absolutely. It's a story that hits you on so many levels. Scientific, personal, societal. And her work with radium, well, it brings up some interesting questions, right? This element, so groundbreaking, so full of potential, but it had a dark side too.
Right, that's the thing about scientific discovery. It's fascinating, but sometimes, well, a little unsettling. We uncover these amazing secrets of the universe, but we don't always know what they really mean, or what might happen because of them.
Yeah, like with radium. In the beginning, everyone thought it was this miracle substance. They put it in everything from everyday stuff to medical treatments.
Radium tonics, radium cosmetics, even radium therapies for who knows what. The wonder drug of the early 1900s.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And it wasn't just regular people. Scientists were caught up in it too.
Yeah.
They didn't fully grasp the dangers of radiation exposure.
Nope. Didn't have a clue.
It's a reminder that science isn't always a straight line to, enlightenment.
Yeah.
There were twists and turns, unexpected consequences. You constantly have to rethink what you know.
You have to stay open to new information, that's for sure.
Totally. It shows how important it is to be careful with scientific discoveries.
Right.
To think about the good and the bad that could come from them. And it also shows how crucial it is to keep researching, keep asking questions, keep testing things, refining what we know.
To always be learning, yeah.
It's like she gave us this amazing gift, this powerful tool in radium, but also this big question. How do we use this power responsibly?
That's a question we're still wrestling with today, not just with nuclear science, but with every scientific advance. Artificial intelligence, genetic engineering, you name it. We keep pushing the limits of what we know, but every breakthrough comes with a responsibility to think about the ethical side of things.
It's a good point. It's almost like Marie Curie's life is a warning.
That
progress without, thinking it through, without considering the consequences, it can lead to some pretty bad outcomes.
Unintended consequences, that's for sure.
Yeah. But her story isn't just about the science, right? It's about the person behind the discoveries. This woman who defied expectations, fought against prejudice, and in the end, triumphed because of her sheer will and passion for knowledge.
Exactly. She's an inspiration, especially for women in STEM fields.
Even though she lived in a time when women were basically shut out of science.
It's amazing. Proof that brilliance has nothing to do with gender, nothing to do with any boundaries. We need to create a world where everyone, no matter who they are, can contribute to science.
That's the goal, right? Well, as we wrap up our deep dive into Marie Curie, I'm really struck by, just how much of an impact she had.
Oh, yeah.
From, changing how we understand the atom to saving lives on the battlefields of World War I.
Think so?
Her work still matters today. It's incredible.
She left behind a legacy that's both inspiring and challenging, She reminds us that pursuing knowledge is a good thing. But it has to come with responsibility, with thinking things through, and with always being aware of what might happen because of our discoveries.
It's about more than just achievements, isn't it?
Right. It's about the values you have, the courage you show, how you affect others.
Well said. It's a legacy that goes beyond labs and science journals. It's a legacy that lives on in everyone who dares to dream big, to challenge the status quo, to make a difference in the world.
Absolutely.
Thanks for joining us for this deep dive into the remarkable life of Marie Curie. We hope this has made you curious, maybe inspired you to explore the world of science a bit more, and all the amazing people who've shaped our understanding of the universe.
And like Marie Curie herself said, nothing in life is to be feared, it is only to be understood. Now is the time to understand more so that we may fear less.